Welcome to An American Homestead, podcasting live from deep within the Ozark Mountains at an elevation of 2,200 feet. It's 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, and it's good to be back. Had a trip this last week. We were gone. Some of you guys have been catching us on Facebook and all the videos we've been putting up on YouTube, so thanks for that. The show is sponsored tonight in part by Gasspouts.com. Gasspouts.com, American-made gas spouts, not those silly Chinese gas spouts that you find in the store today that make you oh so angry. No, Gasspouts.com, true American-made gas spouts that actually pour gas. If you believe it or not, they actually work. So if you're interested in replacing those silly gas spouts that you find in the store on gas cans today, you can go to Gasspouts.com and use our coupon code for An American Homestead. It's AAH20 off, AAH20 off, and you can get 20% off your entire order over at Gasspouts.com. So we really appreciate them being a sponsor, and we'll be doing some more videos about some of their products coming up in the future. So stay tuned for that. But had a really interesting last week. I know a lot of you guys have been following us around in our travels, and so thank you for that. We're back. I have my coffee. Jamie is with me as always. And just sat down to try and take care of some last-minute chores or before the show. Or what?
I just was closing the curtains and stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel like I need to close the window. It's cold.
Yeah, it got cold. We had a front come through, and it definitely dropped it by about 20 degrees during the day. I mean, it was a high today of 81, I think.
Weird.
So it's almost August, and the temperatures have dropped. And it's going to get down to probably the 50s tonight.
I think either you or my dad said 59. I didn't look at the weather.
So, I'll take it. I'm not complaining.
59 though? Like, I need to get out another blanket.
Homesteaders everywhere are crying for happiness, crying for joy. So, anyway, so it's nice weather right now for sure. We had some rain the last couple days. It rained. I think it was Friday. Was it Friday and Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, it was nice rain.
Yeah, good rain came through. Our garden definitely needed it. We were starting to get into drought territory, and so we got a good amount of rain, at least an inch or so. And the sorghum or sweet sugar cane, whatever you want to call it, it's growing. It really needed that water too. And so glad to get the rain. Always very much a blessing.
There was no sweating today.
No sweating. I didn't sweat at all.
I didn't sweat either.
Nope. So
just what you wanted to know.
Yeah.
We're sharing it all.
So homesteading rough and raw right here on the Homestead Network. Hey, listen, folks, if you're interested, you can find more great channels over at thehomesteadnetwork.com. You go to their show times and you see a whole list of homesteading channels, homesteads that have their information right there for you to click on, and you can go to their channels and subscribe to them. We're always the last one on the Saturday night circuit. This is the Late Show on the Homestead Network, and Deep South Homestead down there in southern Mississippi is before us, so check them out. Great show as always, and lots of other great channels over there, so check it out. thehomesteadnetwork.com. But it's Saturday night, and I have a whole bunch of stuff. I know we're not going to get to all of it. I don't think so. There's just a lot to talk about. First off, we got back from our trip. So if you've been watching our videos, we went to Beaumont, Texas for a conference where I spoke a couple times at that conference. And then after that, we were finished. I went over, we brought the family over to the ocean, got to see the ocean. Kids got to see the ocean for the first time. And then we went to San Antonio. Saw the Riverwalk, saw the Alamo, did some video over there at the Japanese tea garden that you did a little bit of a snippet on. If you haven't seen that, Jamie explained a little bit of the discrepancy between the names. It was called the Chinese tea garden for a while because of World War II. So really great, interesting facts over there. You can check out the videos. And then we came home. We headed back home. It was good to finally get back on the homestead. I don't like being gone too long. I think there's a little bit of recovery having
definitely
been gone so long.
It really reminded me of when I was a kid and my parents. If you've been listening very long, you know that I was a missionary kid. Grew up in Papua New Guinea. And when my parents would bring us back to the United States after an extended stay, there was a great deal of culture shock involved. If you've never experienced that, it's hard for me to explain it to you. It involves, it's shock. I mean, it involves stepping into a different world that you're not familiar with and how you adjust to that. Well, for the first time, I saw some of that in our oldest, Joshua. He had some moments where it was emotionally stressful dealing with the shock of the city. The lights, the speed of everything going on, just the extent of everything to see it, it's just like visual stimulation overload.
Well, we went to dinner one night and we thought it'd be cool to take them to a Rainforest Cafe. And
yeah, I thought that the boys would love it. Like, I thought that it would be something cool, something that they never done before. We don't go out to eat. On a very rare occasion, we go out to eat. It's very, very rare. And I thought, since we're traveling, we'll take the opportunity to allow them, some different experiences. So we decided to take them to the Rainforest Cafe. That was a huge mistake.
It's so loud in there. The music, they're playing pop music. Plus, you have all of these fabricated sounds of the jungle, supposedly, or the rainforest. Mm-hmm. And, you got these elephants that are screaming, and then you have these apes that are grunting, and it was just insanity. And
it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot to take in. For a kid, it was culture shock. It was culture shock for Joshua. It was a lot of stimulation that he's not used to. However, I don't regret taking them there just because I feel like it's those kind of experiences that he'll remember and he'll realize that, the rest of America, I mean, the restaurant was jam-packed. And what were they doing? Kids were standing up on their chairs, walking around their chairs, spilling their drinks. And what were their parents doing?
On the phone.
Sitting there on their phones. I don't want to be judgmental of someone else's life because I really don't like it when people judge my lifestyle. But for us, it was a lesson to show our kids. And this is, generally.
This is America today.
Anyway, so, those kind of lessons are always good to show your kids. So that was interesting. What else?
Oh, well, I mean, it was good to see a lot of the stuff they really enjoyed. They really enjoyed the museum. We went to it was a museum that had a free opening on Tuesday night. And so we went to see that, and they loved the museum because they had all kinds of Western history, Western artwork, and so they loved that. They liked seeing all the displays they had there. And then also the Alamo. They had a great time at the Alamo. They had a great time, seeing all that and learning about David Crockett and David Bowie and William Travis and all the people there. The history behind the Alamo, and and learning about that. There was a couple reenactors there. They had a real fun time watching that. And then we went to the Japanese tea gardens where we reenacted one of their movies that they like. It's that Cloak and Dagger movie, a movie that I really liked growing up as a kid. And, they had a real fun time reenacting some of the scenes from that movie. They did a really good job, too. So it was overall a very fun trip and got a lot out of it. I'm just glad to be back on the homestead. So.
Yeah, we're in recovery.
Mm-hmm. Recovering from the trip.
know what I noticed though, just after arriving home and getting stuff put away, and the next morning I walked into the living room and I looked out, and it's so open where we are. We can see out, and just looking at the trees and having my windows wide open. There's nothing I don't know. I just can't imagine living in a city now.
Yeah, there's no way I'd ever move back to a city. I couldn't do it.
I truly appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be reminded of that.
Yeah. It is good to be reminded of that.
Yeah, it's nice to go out and experience, especially for our kids, to be able to experience that, because we can't lock them away and shelter them their whole lives.
Right. So yeah, we're recovering from the trip and excited to get back on the homestead. Have a lot of things to take care of here. A lot of things coming up. We're getting ready for canning. I knew when we got back the tomatoes were going to be in full swing, and they are. There's a lot of food out there in the garden right now to eat and to preserve. And so this is, we talk a lot, maybe not so much on our videos, but we'll talk more about it. But we talk a lot about around the house about eating seasonally and how people used to eat. And right now, this is the time, the animals, out in the woods, there's plenty of food for them. They're getting fat. They're getting ready for that summer when the snow's on the ground. There's nothing growing. And they're going to use that stored fat reserves that they have, for getting through the winter. It's the same way here. There's tons of food to eat in the garden. And so we're getting ready to harvest that and preserve it and set it aside. Tomatoes are coming in.
So salsa.
Yeah, we got to do salsa. What are you doing tomorrow? You said ingredients, right?
The way that I found it worked best, and I've done it a bunch of different ways, but last summer I kind of cemented my method, was to take one day and do all the prep work of all the other veggies besides the tomatoes. So I'll do that tomorrow. We'll get all the peppers picked, and I'll get them all chopped, ready to go. Onions, garlic seasonings, add all my seasonings, make sure everything's ready to go so that the next day harvest the tomatoes.
It's just one less thing you don't have to do.
Yeah. Well, so I can have it ready to go, and it's just boil and peel the tomatoes, and that's the hardest work, is the tomato part.
So we gotta get ready for canning. We got a lot of stuff out there growing. Also this week we're gonna be talking hopefully again to the mechanic who's working on our track loader. With these cooler temperatures that are gonna be sticking around for the next few days, I'm hoping I can get him out to work on the track loader. I think he was making excuses for why he didn't want to work on the track loader, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, because it was like 90 plus, 95 plus. Pushing 100-degree heat index. I wouldn't want to be out there either, So, I totally get it. But hopefully this week we can get that track loader going, get that thing up and running, and man, I can start, tearing up stuff on the homestead and get things ready, projects that I want to get done. So, hopefully we'll talk to him again this week. Also, really cool, we were heading down to Texas, and I got an email. There was an article in our local newspaper, about a new distillery opening up in our county, not that far from where we live, actually. And I was very excited about this. And he said, they want to make a distillery. They have they have their federal permit, they have their state permits now, and they're getting ready to open. They're just waiting for some last minute health inspections. Because they're a business and they're going to be operating, that way, they have to get some, it's a little bit higher than what we're doing. So they have some issues they have to, get through with the inspector to open up a business there. And so it could mean that we could have a possible cash crop on the homestead. Now, he wants to make whiskey, vodka, and rum, and maybe, what's the other one? Gin. And so the gin and the rum we can help out on. We can use our sugar cane for the rum manufacturing, and we have a lot of the juniper berries that we can use for the gin. So I'm thinking maybe this is a great way to source it. He would like to source all of his materials locally, and so we're going to help out with that. At least we're going to try to talk about that. I may be going over there this week to talk with him, maybe even do a video on his stills and his setup and see everything. Before it goes into operation. He said he can probably start distilling, be making the spirits by September. So here in a couple months, in a month, basically. So that's exciting for us because we would love to be able to grow something here that we could have a cash crop and make money. And whether it's sorghum or sugar cane, the sugar cane that we got from that lady a while back, I've done videos about it before, is growing great here, and we got a whole quarter acre. I don't know if a quarter acre is going to be enough for him, so I may have to. That's when I get this track loader. When I get this track loader, I can clear more land to make more pasture or make more crop area, farming area that I can grow these cash crops. So I would love to be able to, take part in a I don't know, a black spiced rum or something that we could talk about, because people are always asking us about our wine that we make. Hey Zach, can we buy, just as we were in Texas, people coming up to us, hey Zach, can I buy some wine off you? I'm like, man, I can't sell wine, dude. I'm like, I wish I could, but I can't. I didn't even bring any with us, but we can't sell wine. It's against the law. But if you have a federal and state license, then you can, and I can tell people, hey, this batch was made from an American Homestead sorghum or sugarcane.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be awesome. So I'll have more information on that coming up. Also, our delicata squash out there is doing great that we got from Shalom Acres. I was checking on that when we got back. It's looking fantastic. We're going to have some really good delicata squash, and our Ozark Mountain potato squash is doing really good too. We're going to have a great crop of sweet potatoes.
You know how I really liked making that delicata when we had it last year? Because they gave us the squash, and I cooked it but saved the seeds, and then we planted it. But remember how I made it last year?
Yeah, I think so.
I took some venison and rice and made a stuffing and put it inside.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I'm looking forward to having that again. It was really good squash. So, delicata squash also, if you don't know, you can eat the skin once you cook it.
Yeah.
So the skin is totally edible.
Right.
My Egyptian spinach, however, on the other hand, has been completely
looks
destroyed.
Horrible.
We're not going to be able to get anything out of that. It will produce seed, which is great. So we'll be able to save seed, I think, for the coming up. And I think as long as we continue to put out the milky spore, we will see a reduction in the amount of Japanese beetles. But I mean, they have totally dive bombed our Egyptian spinach. It looks horrible. And not only that, the leaves that do look good that they haven't got to have been pooped all over because insects poop. And they just pooped as they're eating the leaves. They're pooping, and they're just pooping over everything. The plants are all just horrible looking. So our Egyptian spinach, we'll be able to get seed from it, but I don't think we're going to be able to salvage anything for this year. We'll plant next year, and I should be able to sell some of the seeds to you guys if you want them. But we're going to have to wait.
Did we ever have this beetle problem before?
Yes.
But they've just multiplied.
They've multiplied since we've been here, because that's what we're trying to do with the milky spores to prevent that from happening. And also, we had those plum trees in the garden. Yeah. That was their main focus.
So they're multiplying because we are here to cultivate this land?
No, but they're taking advantage of, the amount of food we're putting in. Normally, they wouldn't have this much food. But in the garden, we had that, Jim Crawford says, get them to sell smoked salt whiskey. Before we had these 2 plum trees that were wild. We were going to keep them in the garden, and that was their main focus. So they just stayed on the plum trees. Yeah. And they kind of devastated them every year. But now that they're gone, they're coming up and they're attacking the blackberries now. They're attacking just everything else, anything that they want. So
they were always here because I think you said we've been hearing everyone in the area is complaining more about them this year.
Yeah, they're really bad this year. I've used neem oil. Robert wants to know, do you use neem oil? Yeah, we used the neem oil. And it does work, especially on the blackberries and a couple of other places. But I used the neem oil on the Egyptian spinach, and they just laughed and went right to town. So it didn't work at all. Next year, we're going to incorporate some traps, and we'll keep doing the milky spore.
Do you think it's because they're a bigger bug?
They're a bigger bug?
I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
I don't know. I just know that it's never been this bad before, and it's really preventing. I mean, with
the neem oil, it tends to work, but it's not working with them. But they're a lot bigger.
Well, it does seem to work, like on the blackberries. It seems to work okay. But for the Egyptian spinach, maybe the Egyptian spinach is just too good. They couldn't stay away. I really want spinach in the summer. I want lettuce, leafy greens in the summer, and the Japanese beetles are just not going to let me have it. So what we're going to do is continue to put out the milky spore, and hopefully that will take down the population a little bit. That's my only hope, So we'll have to keep doing it. Also, our corn is coming in. It looks fantastic. I took Danny's advice over at Deep South Homestead. I didn't grow any Danny corn, but I did grow corn. It's a heirloom variety that I got from Baker Creek. I forget the name of it now. And it did great. And I just put in lots of chicken manure. I didn't let the chicken manure age. People say you can't use chicken manure on your plants because it'll burn it. But I think Danny said, just go ahead. You don't need to age the chicken manure. It won't burn corn. Just throw it right on the corn. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been throwing, before we planted this year, I was throwing lots of chicken manure, raw chicken manure, on the corn area that I was going to grow in. And the corn, this has been the best year for corn we've ever had. So lesson learned on that, use the raw chicken manure. I'm going to keep doing it. And I think next year, we may do a popcorn. Because
really?
we eat a lot of popcorn.
I know, you love popcorn.
So I'm thinking next year we're going to do popcorn and still use the Danny, doing the chicken manure thing that Danny suggested to do.
Yeah.
But other than that, stuff's growing in the garden. There's plenty of food out there. The blackberries are coming in. There's lots of raspberries out there right now. Mm-hmm. Lots of raspberries. Mm-hmm. And the Jerusalem artichokes are coming in really good. Those look fantastic. They'll be ready to eat this fall and winter. But there's lots of stuff growing. The tomatoes are looking fantastic. There's lots of green beans out there. Our cucumbers have kind of, they've all gone yellow. we haven't been picking them fast enough, and so it is what it is for that. But yeah. So the garden is good. Let's see what else we got. So let's go ahead and get started on our topic. So this last week, the Townsends. So there's a YouTube channel out there called Townsends. And you may have known them as before. I think it was they changed the name of their channel. It used to be JAS
Townsend and Sons.
Yeah, that's right. And they changed their name. Now it's just Townsends.
I think it was short for James, but
I thought so too.
JAS.
It's a very popular channel. They have over 300,000 subscribers, so most of you probably know who we're talking about if you've been in this for a while. A very popular channel. They talk about things, in the 17th, 18th century, even 19th century somewhat. Think how people used to live back then. How did they bake bread? How did they, harvest their game? How did they do things?
Yeah, lots of cooking stuff.
I've seen. And so they basically do an question and answer session every so often, once a week maybe. Yeah. And this week, they centered around hygiene in the 18th century.
So was he dressed up in his period outfit also?
Yes, always. He's always dressed up in his period outfits. And they have a website where you can purchase period outfits for both ladies and men.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
But it was hygiene in the 18th century. And so he gets the question, and he starts off, I think he's totally right. He starts off saying, listen, that's a really wide, area to cover. Because, you have to talk about cities, how they did back then, the countries, the farmers, the farmsteads, the homesteads. It was different for a lot of people. But he made the point that, that's one thing that you don't want to go back and experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Well, what caught my eye, there's a number of things that caught my attention in the discussion, because it wasn't that long of a discussion. But, the cities. Most cities like London, New York, they had basically trenches where everyone put their manure.
Yeah, and they would pray for a good rain.
Pray for rain. That's where that pray for rain. That's where it came from. That saying, pray for rain, because the street's starting to smell a little. It smelled all the time. But, when it starts to pile up, it gets really ripe. So,
I just cannot imagine walking down the street and, But
you think of someplace like New York City or London, these giant metropolises, of industry and commerce. Couldn't you make an argument that the homesteader was more hygienic than the city?
Definitely, yeah.
Because at least the homesteader has the room.
Fresh air.
Yeah. You have fresh air, but also the homesteader you could dig a hole. You had the room.
Yeah.
You dug a hole and you put an outhouse over the top of it, and that was it. It was easy to get rid of. And then when the hole fills up, you cover it up, or I know people who also would go down there, they would dig it all out and then dig out the hole again. Because you have to do that every so often. Or you could just fill up the hole and then dig a new hole.
Yeah.
And it would last for, a year, 2 years, whatever it was, until it filled up again.
But even just beyond that, the toilet aspect of it, there's the living around the teeming body of masses,
Yeah.
literal numbers of people that stink.
They didn't have showers back then, like we have today, where you can just jump in, throw on this high water pressure water. I mean, we spent the last week in hotels where you have this amazing water pressure and amazing shower heads on there, and it's really nice. But they didn't have that 100 years ago. They didn't have that 200 years ago. And so, how often did you shower? Townsend makes the point you showered maybe once a week. Sometimes you showered less. People in the military, showered way less than that, if hardly at all. So, people smelled a little ripe all the time.
I think generally, too, still in Europe, people don't shower as regularly as in America.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's what I've been told.
In Europe, right. So I don't know, but so here's what happened the other day, folks. The other day I'm on STEEMIT, and there was a guy who I was following for a long time on STEEMIT, and he was following me, and all of a sudden, he turned sour on us for some reason, and he has his own homestead, and he basically wrote an article about hygiene and how homesteaders, off-gridders are putting themselves in danger because they can't have proper hygiene. If by using, Humanure and these types of things, you're taking your life into your hands.
Yikes.
Yeah, and so, and he even made...
A little bit bitter.
And he even made the claim that by doing... He didn't call us out by name, but it was obviously he was talking about us. He even made the claim that what we're doing is child abuse because we're putting our children in danger.
Yeah, not the first time we've heard that.
Yeah, right. So, and
I would challenge anyone, and this issue makes me a little irritated, but I would challenge anyone to come into my home. My home is by far cleaner, neater than the majority of American homes. I would bet you.
Yeah. And even if you did like a germ test, bacteria test, there are studies done by Cornell University, many universities, state universities, Ivy League, colleges that have proven now that Humanure is a fantastic way to get rid of your waste. And, it's take, for instance, you go to the bathroom and you flush the toilet. There is a mist that you cannot see that goes into the air when you flush a toilet. And I don't care what kind of toilet you have, whether it's an efficient, water-efficient one or not.
Well,
and
the more efficient ones are worse.
Right, they're actually worse.
Because they create a bigger suction.
And what happens is that mist, usually most people brush their teeth in their bathrooms. That mist, including all that bacteria, lands on your toothbrush, and now it's basically in your mouth because you're brushing your teeth with that bacteria. And so studies have proven that the modern bathroom is disgusting when it comes to germs. And that Humanure, according to these studies, over and over again says, or these studies, or these places that have Humanure or who have composting toilets are way, way more hygienic. So this is something, that, he's close to home, obviously, that Townsends was talking about this week, because I think we have the knowledge now. They didn't have knowledge of germs, the wide knowledge of germs back then. I would think that people who were in the higher echelons of society, they probably bathed quite often. They wanted to be clean, but probably they didn't have access to the things we have access to now. But people in the city who didn't have access to a large amount of water because they didn't have indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
But I would think even people who lived on homesteads, who lived on farms, they had a well. They had a pretty good supply of water.
Yeah,
and
I would think that they probably had more water.
They probably had their own bucket systems like we have.
See, the thing to me, though, that I look back on, at least in my knowledge, I look back on, gravity. Like, why did they not use gravity? Okay, here's what I mean by that. Now, I have this image in my head of this great big wash tub, and they fill it once and they put everybody in one after the other until finally the baby's done, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater because bathwater is so dirty. That's supposedly where the saying came from. So, but I know using a bucket or a shower bag, using gravity, we can wash ourselves, each one of us, in about a gallon of water or less. much less than it would take to fill a wash tub with water. Collectively, I'm talking about.
Right.
So you and I, we can both use about a gallon of water.
Well, our bucket uses 3 gallons, but I don't use the whole bucket.
Neither do I. If I like to be a little bit more liberal with my water usage now that, it's raining, and plus, we have
we're not even using our wells anymore.
But we have the pitcher pump in the sink, which means that I don't have to truck the water into the house by hand anymore. So I'm a little bit more liberal with my water usage. But still, even the water I use, all of us collectively, to shower every day is less than it would take to fill a wash tub.
Right.
We're using gravity. So, yeah, I'm not really quite sure why they didn't do that.
I think probably a lot of the homesteads did. They had access to buckets. They could take a shower like that if they wanted to.
I mean, even a cup bath we've done, which takes substantially less water than filling a bathtub.
There's that old John Wayne movie, Big Jake, and he goes into a place in town where they have a hot shower. I mean, that's just basic technology. All the guy was doing was going up and pouring water into the bucket, and, it was coming down on the guy below. And so, I mean, and you paid for that service, but why couldn't you hook up something like that? I'm sure they had stuff like that. Either way, even if they didn't, they had wells. They had creeks. I mean, they had. You see Little House on the Prairie. They're going down and they're going swimming. They had access to water. People in the city, in my opinion, were not as well off. They were in a much greater disadvantage, I think, when it came to hygiene, because you had all those people, and not only that, but you had all. I mean, that's where most of the plagues started.
Right.
Were the cities. These big black plagues, or the plague, whatever kind of plague it was, they started in the cities because of all of the nastiness that went on there, and no plumbing, no way to get rid of wastewater, and people not.
Yeah, that's
bathing.
why people went out to the country to get better.
Yeah. So anyway, great video. Check out Townsends. It's an 18th century hygiene. He put the video out this week. I didn't put a link in the description below because I figured you guys can go look for it on YouTube. But I did, moving on. That was kind of an interesting topic. I thought it would be cool to talk about because it just, it comes up often here on the homestead.
It's a little hot topic.
It's a hot topic because it gets us going. But people, what it is people who are uneducated. They're ignorant of the facts, and they don't understand, really how this works.
My whole thing, my whole thing. It's just to remind people that, we have not always had all the conveniences that we have today. I think, though, living off-grid today and having the benefit of these inventions like solar, like gravity-fed water systems, even a simple thing like a shower bag, being able to use plastic 5-gallon buckets. I mean, a 5-gallon bucket is huge for homesteaders, especially, off-grid homesteaders.
You can never have enough buckets.
To be able to have the knowledge, especially of hygiene and medical things like that they didn't have 100 years ago, as well as the inventions of today, makes off-grid homesteading today doable and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely be a homesteader and be healthy. You can. All right, next topic, because we're not going to get through them all tonight. We only got about 15 minutes or 10 minutes left before we go to the chat room. So I put a video up on our Facebook page of a goat hanging by his horns from power lines.
What?
Someone sent me a link. The video was taken in Greece, and I put it up on our Facebook page, and it's a goat hanging by his horns from power lines.
Why?
Because it's a goat.
It got up there on its own?
It got up there on its own. So, all right, so I put it on there. Go check it out, our Facebook page. If you want to, go check it out. And I'm talking to you goat owners. Come on now, tell me the truth.
I can't even believe I had to ask why.
Tell me the truth, goat owners. You know that this is entirely possible with a goat. Okay, you'll never see a sheep hanging up there by its horns and in the wires. It's only the goats. So go check it out. I put the link up, the video up on our Facebook page.
But
yeah.
they're so entertaining when
Hey.
you're not pulling out your hair.
So one of the guys, his name is Sal. We saw him in Beaumont. I've known this guy for a couple of years now, and he got goats. And he was saying, he was picking my brain, about a year ago on goat, animals he was going to get for his homestead. And he says, I'm really thinking about goats. And I said, don't do it, man. Don't do it. I've had goats on 2 different occasions, and so I said, don't do it. You're going to regret it. And he came up to me at the conference and he said, you know what, you were right.
But there are some people who really love their goats.
I know. You can love a goat. I totally get it.
Our neighbor loves her goats.
Yeah. And they give her, they're always crawling on her car and getting into trouble and getting run over by vehicles. It's just.
Yeah. And it seems to be okay with her because she keeps getting more
goats.
goats.
Getting more goats. So anyway, go check it out. Goat hanging from wires. And they successfully rescued the goat. He was totally fine. You see at the end of the video, he walks away and goes over across the road. But it took like 3-4 guys to get him down with a giant ladder and pull him out of that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway,
Wow.
Check that out. Okay, so 5 tricks to help your garden survive a drought. So this was really good, I thought, and I wanted to share it with you guys tonight because it's July 29th. We're getting ready to go into August, and it's getting close to drought season. If a drought's going to happen, it could be happening right now, depending on where you live. So this is very applicable. Number 1, it says apply mulch. This is what we do. This is part of the Back to Eden garden method that we do. And for us, it works very well. I know some people don't want to do the Back to Eden. That's fine. But if you don't do the Back to Eden method, you could go get some straw, if you have access to wheat straw or some type of straw, to put that around your plants. Because what that does, it shields the ground, the soil, from the sun so that the soil doesn't dry out. It doesn't matter if you do Back to Eden or not, but if you just shield the dirt from the heat impact and the sun impact, you'll keep that moisture down there and it'll help the plant grow. And so the number 1 thing they say, it's over at offthegridnews.com, apply mulch. Number 2, apply compost. The rich, spongy nature of compost makes it a natural way for retaining water. And so compost is really good. So if you can get compost and maybe put in some peat moss and some other things with your compost, it'll really help hold that water in during times of drought. The 3rd one is to stay on top of weeding. So all these things that are growing out there, I was out there weeding the other day again, and I got some more to do. It's getting to a point where I usually just give up at about the time of August because the produce is coming in so good that I don't have to worry about it anymore. But during a time of drought, every single plant out there is fighting over the water. And so you want to make sure that water stays in the ground only for your plants. So the more plants you pick out of the ground, the less plants that are drinking water in your garden. I hope that makes sense. What were you going to say?
I would just say that those really spiky weeds.
Oh, yeah, I don't like those.
They're kind of painful.
Yeah,
and I would appreciate if they weren't there when I was picking.
I've been picking them out as best as I can.
I know.
So
I hate those things.
We have some. It's I forget what they grow. Those plants grow like a type of tomato. It's like a shielded tomato. It's a tomato with the stuff on with the.
You mean with a
layer?
That wrapping?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's a type of ground cherry. It's
those plant.
Yeah. It's like a ground cherry.
Is it the one
Yeah.
I've never seen any fruit on it.
Yeah, they do produce fruit. There's a couple out there right now. I've been pulling them out as best I can.
Is it edible?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it is. I mean, someone may comment and tell me that it is. I'm not sure. And then number 4, create windbreaks and shade. Temporary structures can provide your vegetable plants and soil with shade and relief from hot winds. We don't have a whole lot of winds up here in the summer. We have a lot of high winds in the winter and fall and spring, but in the summer it gets really still up here, and we don't have a whole lot because the wind will blow away moisture. It will soak away pull up moisture. But we don't have that big of a deal here with wind in the summer. It says be water smart. Use available water, wisely. There's no need to water your garden on a regular basis. Instead, keep an eye out on your plants. They will tell you when they need water. All plants will wilt in excessive heat, but if your big-leafed plants like melons and squash are drooping during cool morning or evening hours, it's time to water your entire garden. So it's got it's a pretty good article. I'm not going to go through it all here because we only got about 5 minutes before we go to the chat room. And so check it out. The link is in the description below. We usually try to include most of the links we talk about in the description, so that if you want to go visit these websites or pages and read them on your own at your own leisure, you can. So that's over at Off the Grid News. Again, link in the description below. So also, I wanted to talk about a couple things real quick in the next 5 minutes. Irish spring soap on your garden. There's a link. I put it in the description below. We're not going to go to the article, but has anyone ever tried this, and does it work? They say it's good for mammals, animals, and also insects. And the picture they had on the website was people who bought a bunch of bars of Irish soap, Irish spring soap. They say it's a natural soap.
They still make that stuff?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, they still make it, and they chunk it up like into big chunks. Big chunks. They halve it or quarter it. And then they put it in different places around their garden, or they hang it in like stockings, stuff like that. So the scent can get out because it's got a high scent, very strong scent.
Stinks.
Yeah, very strong scent. Does it work? I've never tried it. I was just wondering. I thought I would present it out to the audience. Don't tell me now because I'm not looking at the chat. When we go to the chat room, let me know if Irish Spring soap works on your garden. Because I'm thinking, I'm always, right now, my mind is turning about the Japanese beetle, and I'm trying to figure out ways to, help combat that.
Yeah, but I don't think you can tell them not to tell you now because they're thinking about it. They're not going to remember.
All right, we'll wait a few minutes till we get to the chat room, and then I'll bring it up again and let me know if the Irish Spring works.
Okay.
I have one more thing I want to talk about tonight. I think it was last year, Haas Tools sent me their cedar. And I did a video on it, just the unboxing of it and putting it together. And I was really impressed with it. It looked really great. The problem was when I tried to use it. It did not work at all.
Yeah, it was really nice looking.
It looked great.
I told you it would be nice as a lawn ornament.
Yeah, lawn ornament. That's about it. So, listen, we've all, there's people out there who have said these things work great and they use the Haas tools. And, some things work great for others. Some things don't work so well. Deep South talks about the Back to Eden garden. Down there, they have all these ants and they have all these problems. They can't use Back to Eden. And so they have issues with that. Whereas we up here don't have any issues with Back to Eden and we can get wood chips easy, almost for free by the truckload, and we put it on our garden and it works great. It works fantastic, and every year is a better year, it seems like, for our garden. But the Haas Tool cedar, basically it comes with these plates and it'll work for all kinds of different types of seed, but it just does not roll on my ground. I mean, I have rocks in my dirt, and those rocks just did not allow it to turn. It did not work at all. So I gave the Haas garden cedar over to Shalom Acres and Chris over there at Shalom Acres, and I haven't heard back from him. I don't know if he's ever going to make the video on that or not.
He said it didn't work for him.
Yeah, he said it didn't work for him either, and I mean he's in Arkansas just along with us. It didn't work. It just did not work. The things I think that could be improved on it is that the wheels were smooth. You need tread. At least put some tread on it. You could use probably a bicycle wheel, like a dirt bike wheel, something like that. That might work better. But there was also a couple times where it just hung up and it didn't put seed out. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have ever used that tool, but it did not work for us. And I thought about, making a video just basically giving them a poor rating, poor review. But I totally understand that, it can probably work for other people. If you're like up in Iowa and you have this nice, amazing black soil that has no rocks in it, it'll probably work great for you. But here in Arkansas, it just didn't work. Just didn't work. So, I don't know. I'll put that out there. Hey, listen, it's time to go to the chat room. Let's head over to the chat. Hey, guys, if you want to get in on this chat, make sure you put all of your questions or comments that you want us to address in all caps so that I will see it. You put it in all caps, I'll be able to see it, and then I'll be able to address it. And if for some reason I don't address it, it's probably because I was talking about something else and I didn't get to it. Please repeat it so that I do see it. Give me a chance to get to it. And if I don't get to it, please go ahead and repost your question so that I do see it. Other than that, I guess there's some moderators probably hanging around. I haven't seen moderators tonight yet, but I haven't been looking at the chat room until now. So, okay, so let me know. Does the soap deters deer? I haven't had any problem with deer this year. Sometimes I do. The only time the deer, they were chewing down. I think the deer killed something killed one of my jalapeno plants. It was chewed down completely. They didn't get down to the peppers, but they ate the tops of the leaves. So I don't know if that was a deer. But usually the deer, when they get into my garden, usually I know they've been there because they go right after the Jerusalem artichokes. So I don't know. I don't know about that. So I haven't seen any Jerusalem artichokes been chewed down yet. So maybe I don't know if I've had deer yet. Something got one of my pepper plants though. Let's see. What do y'all think about the wolf program? I have never heard of the wolf program. Someone tell me what the wolf program is.
Wolf, like barking dogs?
I have no idea. The wolf program. Is there a program with barking dogs?
I don't know.
Have you used grow bags to take advantage of air pruning outside or in your greenhouse? What is that? Have you used grow bags to take advantage of air pruning outside or in your green? I don't know what a grow bag is. What's a grow bag?
Don't look at me. I don't know.
I don't know. You gotta explain. So far, we're not having good luck. The wolf program and grow bags. I've never heard of a grow bag. Air pruning outside or in your greenhouse. I don't.
Air pruning?
What's air pruning?
Like the air just prunes your plants for you?
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. You'll have to explain. Do you feed your chickens organic feed? I don't know what Tim does. I don't think the organic feed.
That's 3 for 3. Like
I don't know.
We're just really on a roll, or not on a roll.
I don't know what he feeds. I'll have to ask and see what he feeds. I don't know if it's organic. I'm not sure. I think it might be. Deep South Homestead, not Deep South. Shalom Acres they found a really good place to get organic chicken stuff very cheap, and so I think we may start doing that once I get more information on where that is. But
it's where you get people to come work for you to learn skills. Yeah, no.
Work for you. It's where you get people to come work for you to learn skills. No, because we've had so many people who show up here and they're just crazy.
Yeah, we're not into having people out.
Yeah, we not.
It's not for us.
Have you ever tried Malabar spinach first year for me and love it? Yes, I did. I planted it. It grew really good in our aquaponics system, and it was almost invasive in the system. And so I basically went on a full year of eradicating it out. But it was very good. I liked it. But I may grow it again and give it something to climb on, in the garden, grow it in the garden. But I don't know if the Japanese beetles would attack that or not. But I did try the Malabar spinach. I did like it. I may try that again at some point. And the only thing I worry about is that it seems to be invasive. And I don't want it to get everywhere in the garden. Although I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I'm going to eat it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll plant it along the fence line. That would be a good idea, maybe. Malabar spinach. It's the program where farms take interns. Yeah, I'm just not really into that, I don't think. It's just there's a lot of weirdos out there, folks.
We've ranted about it before. My main thing is that, number one, I like to work alone. I'm good at managing my own time, but I don't want to manage someone else's time.
Right.
And I don't want to entertain while I'm working. And usually
that's what it
comes down to.
Yeah.
I'm not teaching. I'm trying to get a job done. I'm not your teacher. But I mean, if there are people who like that, then go ahead. But I'm an introvert and I like to work alone. Number 2, I have children.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing strangers out to my home, period. I have children.
Yeah. We'll make exceptions for people who we know who want to come out and learn. Like we've had people come out and do canning with Jamie before. So that happens sometimes. Our neighbors, people who want to come out and learn how we're doing something and watch us work for that or help out. We do that. But see, that's more of a community-based thing. I'll bend over backwards for people in my community if they want to come out here. I will make that happen. And people in town, that I meet, if they're interested in something we do and they want to learn, great, come out here and we'll make it happen. But I won't open that up to the public. People I don't know. We've done that a few times. We started to do that when we first got out here, and there was just some weirdos that showed up.
Yeah,
so we're not doing that
anymore. we had to shut it down.
How do you deal with rodents in your garden? Nuke from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. No, we trap them. We've had wood rats. I've done videos on getting rid of wood rats, gophers. Not gophers, but groundhogs. We killed a couple groundhogs once. Just recently, we did a video this spring on killing an armadillo that was just wreaking havoc in the garden and digging all kinds of things up, and eventually killed that sucker. And so I did a video on that. Check it out. But yeah, we trap with 330 conibears, 110 conibears. I'll even take a 22 out there and sit patiently if I have to. There was a mole that was digging up one day, and I just took my 9mm out and shot him. He was coming up out of the ground and right at my feet, and so I just shot him with my 9mm.
Well, I think the grow bags were explained.
Oh, you can grow plants in grow bags. Helps save space. I grew potatoes in them this year.
Yeah, I guess if you need extra space.
I've never tried that. I'll have to look at it. Someone send me a link. Go to our contact page, send me a link on grow bags so I can take a look and see what
But we're not really lacking space.
I don't, but I would try to grow. I'm always looking for new ways to grow potatoes. So, I'm interested. I'll try something. I'll try everything once. My husband and I are wanting to try the wolf program. Yeah, just be careful. There's weirdos out there today. If you guys want to do that, and I know some people have had some great success, but man, my house is my castle, and then I'm not about to invite a Trojan horse into my castle. Put it that way. Let's see. Hogs. Hey, I resemble that statement. I don't know what Dustin is talking about.
I don't know.
So, let's see. Am I missing anything else?
I don't know if there were any other questions.
Okay.
Oh, We Tree Bonsai says it prunes the roots. So the grow bag prunes the roots.
Why would you want to prune the root, though?
Huh. I don't know.
Okay. It says Larry Hall YouTube channel does them. I think they worked really well. I will check out that channel and see if I can find more information. Larry Hall did grow bags. Okay. Very cool. I'll have to check it out. I'm still going to have to grow. I'm going to do a fall crop of potatoes. You can do that around here with pretty good success. So we're going to try that this year. And pretty soon here, I guess, after September gets past, we'll be planting our garlic for the fall. Again, for next spring. There's a lot of stuff, coming in from the garden right now. We've got a few more things I want to do. But I'll do the fall planting for potatoes, and that'll be about it.
Yeah. But we're getting a lot of good sweet potatoes, you said.
Oh, sweet potatoes are going to be outstanding this year, I think.
Sweet potatoes are my favorite. And I don't even end up preserving
We've
them.
got to get ready for the county fair. We got to submit that form for the cow to bring her to the fair.
Are you sure that hasn't passed?
No, he said they'll take it late. So
we were really
late. I want my oldest, my 10-year-old, to show the cow in the county fair, and it's coming up soon. So I got to submit a form here this week and get that in. So, how much hay does your cow eat in a week? Right now, he's not eating hay. She's eating grass. So, not really doing hay. What we're going to be doing is putting in a round bale. And I learned this from Shalom Acres, too. Is you take a round bale, you put it up on its side, flat side down, and then you wrap a cattle panel around it. And the animals eat through the cattle panel at the hay, and it makes them last a lot longer. You have a lot less waste. that way. I even saw on Premier One supplies that they supply farms with all kinds of farm equipment. They even sell these things. And people say they get a lot more use out of their hay if you do that. So you wrap it in a cattle panel or in fencing, and then you let the animals eat through the fence at the hay bale, and it lasts a lot longer. So we're going to do that. And we started doing it last year. It worked pretty good. I think we only used like 2 hay bales for the whole winter. I think maybe it was 3. Maybe it was 3 hay bales for the whole winter. Wheat Tree Bonsai says, roots hit the side and sunlight stops the roots from growing out. Oh, I get it. That makes sense. I'm going to have to try that. I'll have to look at it and see. Hubs wants to know the practical application of the 9mm or 45mm you were looking at down in Texas on the Homestead. The practical application of the 9mm you were looking at down in Texas on the Homestead. So the Vector. I gotta get me one of these.
Oh, this was that.
What is the practical application of the 9mm or 45mm you were looking down at in Texas? And the number one answer is, remember that first time I gave you that SIG rifle and you said that was way too heavy?
Yeah.
So I got you a 9mm AR.
Yeah.
And it was a lot lighter.
Yeah.
This is even lighter than that.
Yeah.
And there is no recoil. There is 0 recoil on those guns. They're perfect guns for your ladies. If they don't like recoil on a gun, perfect. And I mean, it's an amazing firearm. There's lots of practical application for that. Coyotes or, just perfect, home self-defense. Home defense would be a great reason for that. It'd be great. I mean, Jamie has access to her pistol whenever she needs it. I have access to my pistol whenever I need it. We also have rifles here on the Homestead. And so personal protection is paramount here. Not only that, but there's wild animals. And so let's just say, for instance, we saw a bear out there, in the Homestead. She could grab one of the rifles. She could grab the rifle, that we have in close proximity that she can just get to, or she can grab her pistol. She has access to firearms if I'm not around and she needs to deal with something right away. Totally can do that. So the Vector is an amazing rifle, great for people who want something lightweight and who don't want to deal with recoil on a gun. Even though 9mm is very low recoil, this is like 0 recoil on the Vector. Check it out. Let's see, how much hay? Let's see, I already answered that question. I saw somewhere you were supposed to cure sweet potatoes. Is that true? So yeah, people have told me you have to cure sweet potatoes. And Deep South, yeah, they cure their sweet potatoes. But I also remember Wanda on Deep South saying she was going to eat one of those tonight. She dug up, it was a couple weeks ago on the podcast. We dug up a big giant potato a couple years ago, sweet potato, and we ate it that night, and it was like one of the most delicious sweet potatoes I had ever had.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was completely fine. Should you cure your sweet potatoes? Probably.
But
do you have to?
At the same time, I
don't think so.
Lay them out of the sun. I mean, Deep South in the comments says no in a climate-controlled area. I would argue what kind of climate-controlled area, because for us, we don't have air conditioning, so there is no climate-controlled area except out of the sun. Historically, there was no air conditioning either. So I would say that out of the sun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes most sense to me.
It just needs to air out. That's all it needs to do. It just needs to dry because it's going to be moist on the outside. It just needs to dry a little bit.
And I've never done any preservation of my sweet potatoes. They last just fine through the winter.
Yeah, they last fine through the winter. But my thing is, from experience, we have pulled sweet potatoes out of the ground and ate them that night, and it's completely fine. In fact, the one we did that 2 years ago, whatever, we did a video on it, tasted absolutely fantastic. It was no problem for us. We'll have no problem saving our potatoes. They'll last a long time.
Curing them has to do with how long they last. That would make sense. Yeah.
Let's see. My home defense is a gorilla killing chihuahua. I don't know how that works, but I don't think it'd work around here. If it's a chihuahua that really kills gorillas, then you're probably good to go. But I don't believe you. What are our thoughts on raising rabbits for meat and fur? We have using ours to control weeds in the yards and garden as well. We don't raise rabbits. I know Deep South does. I don't know if they keep the fur or not. I know they have really good fur. I just know the fur is not worth much. When I was into trapping and I was going out to the rendezvous, the trapping rendezvous, the rabbit fur did not bring a very good price. Some people paid for them, and when they're tanned, they're really soft and beautiful. But there was just not a lot of demand for them, I don't think. So, let's see. He was teasing about the practical. It's a homestead, we understand. She says, awesome. Looks like I need to get one. I'm the wife. Yay. Well, I have a friend of mine in town. He says anytime he needs to buy a new toy, he just makes the excuse it's for his wife. I need a new boat. Well, it's for Helen. I need a new 4-wheeler. It's for Helen. I need a new AR-15. Helen's getting a new AR-15.
Oh, nice.
So he just buys it for his wife.
I hope she's allowed to do the same thing.
No.
She's not allowed to do the same thing. Buy stuff for herself and blame it on him.
No. Well, he buys it all for her. She has everything she needs: a boat, a 4-wheeler, a gun, a truck.
Oh my gosh.
Except this wife actually likes to shoot too. Jamie's a very good shot. She's not. It's not her first thing that she likes to do, but she's very good at it.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it rarely. Yeah, I'm a good shot. I think that generally women are, just because we take our time, and we also have not had instilled bad habits from growing up like little boys do, pretend shooting.
Yeah. I'm reading this one from Christopher. It says, I have big white spots on some cucumber in the garden. Are they still good? What might it be from? I don't know. If it's still green, then it's probably okay to eat. If it's not green, if it's turning yellow and it's got big white spots, it might not be good. I'm not sure about big white spots on that, but I don't know. Taste it and see what it tastes like. If it tastes bitter, it's not good anymore. So, but that's weird. I've never heard anything about big white spots on your garden, or on your cucumbers. Hey guys, listen, thanks again for tuning in. We had a great show, a lot of stuff to get through, and we'll be back next week. It was fun, to spend some time away from the homestead. Kids got to see a lot of stuff, but now we're back. The work begins. Summer is here. We have a lot to do, so stay tuned. We'll see you next time on the American Homestead.